At the time of my diagnosis with breast cancer, I had a 2-year-old, 1-year-old, and 6-week-old to deal with. Yes, and work.
There aren't many times in the course of an interview that I am moved by the story that gets told, by the way it gets told, by the obstacles that had to be overcome. This story is one of those times.
I'm from the Birmingham, Alabama area. And since the age of 4 years old, I knew I wanted to be a physician. And I'm blessed to have parents who didn't deny me those ideas and options. And I was able to complete my undergraduate degree in biology at Alabama State University in Montgomery, Alabama. And I then attended the University of South Alabama for college. And I completed my residency in South Carolina in family medicine. So I'm a family medicine physician, and I'm proud to say that I'm one of the, I believe, 2.8% of Black women that are physicians in the United States. And I truly did, from a young age, have dreams and hopes of everything being perfect in the world. But life shows you differently. And in some ways, it's good to have a better balance. And I do have more balance now with some of the things that people would consider more tragic that have occurred in my life. I was diagnosed at my 6-week postpartum visit with my youngest daughter. I was having pain in my left breast and swelling, which I just assumed would be mastitis, which is a breast infection. So I went to my 6-week postpartum visit with the encouragement of my husband to mention my symptoms because I'd been sort of annoying him by talking about how my breast hurt. And my obstetrician was smart enough to say, you know what, you need to go downstairs and let's get you an ultrasound, which then turned into a mammogram. And that then turned into being referred to a breast surgeon to do a biopsy of my breast. So you can only imagine that I have the emotions and hormones of just having a young baby, and then also then experiencing this change of events. But in my case, with that optimism and that thought that I mentioned of the world being perfect, I really didn't think that I would have breast cancer. I was only 35 at the time and didn't think that that would be in my stratosphere of reality, especially because I don't have a strong family history for breast cancer. Medical school and my path to becoming a physician was very difficult, and it took a lot of focus. And I always had dreams of one day being able to be married and had many friends who were married at younger ages. But my path was a little bit different. And my path involved reconnecting with my friend from college and getting married a little later in life. I was married in 2014. And within the next year, we were having our first child phase. I finished my training for family medicine in 2011. And so this diagnosis initially of breast cancer occurred in 2018. So I've been practicing for about 7 years before getting my diagnosis. I did not consider myself high risk. I am grateful and blessed to say that both of my grandmothers lived past 100 years old. So that coincided with my fantasies and dreams of living a long, healthy life. And I still expect to do so. But I definitely did not expect that breast cancer, let alone, would be a part of my future. I think in the case of getting my diagnosis of breast cancer, I knew some medical facts, but also had the fears that any person would have of having that diagnosis. I didn't ever ask what stage my cancer was, although I felt it was pretty aggressive and I knew that it was triple negative, which is aggressive. I never asked whether it was stage 1, 2, or 3. I don't recall the numbers exactly, but I would say that the treatments lasted 6 to 8 months, including the radiation. It may have been a little bit longer than that, but it feels like it was about 6 to 8 months of treatment. I look back on those times and realize that I was still in that mode of trying to be superwoman, the same type of mode I had with my medical practice, thinking I could do it all and be it all. And in some ways that's helpful, and in other ways it's not. I really did want to be the same mom that I would have been before my breast cancer diagnosis. And I wanted to be the same partner to my husband and the same physician to my patients.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I really only told my medical staff what was going on in terms of my breast cancer. And I was able to hide it for the most part. I have locks, as you see, and I had locks before my chemotherapy regimen. And so my hair would fall out in clumps, but I had a few little strings of dreadlocks that would hang in the front, and I'd wear a scarf. And folks at work, my patients thought I was just trying to be stylish when I was really hiding the fact that I had breast cancer. And I also was hiding that fact because as a family medicine physician, it was really my duty to spend as much time with my patients on their issues. And a lot of times that would go beyond the 15-minute appointment. And I was also postpartum. So most of my patients wanted to know, how are you doing? How's the baby? And so I would just talk about my experiences with being a mom again and deny the fact that I had breast cancer, at least to my patients. Although my office staff knew it, and there would be days of the week I would have to take off after my chemotherapy. I had a time frame where I did not have any signs of the breast cancer being there. I had mammogram after dealing with chemo and radiation and going through my treatments, and I had a normal mammogram, and that's when I became more public about my breast cancer diagnosis, thinking I'm done with breast cancer, as many people do think they are done with breast cancer after receiving their treatment. In my case, I thought I was just having a sinus infection and had some pressure on the left side of my face.
Mm.
And thankfully, because of connections and because of being a physician and having a friend who's an oncologist, I mentioned those things to her with my vulnerability and with opening up. And she was the one who said, you know, breast cancer can sometimes go to the brain. You may want to get a scan of your brain just to be sure. And similarly to how I didn't think I'd have breast cancer, I figured, sure, I'll just get this imaging done, take some antibiotics, and things will be okay. But my friend, Dr. Erica Stringer Reeser, who was a Black female oncologist, was right. I had brain cancer.
Mm.
And there was definitely more fear when I received my stage 4 diagnosis with my brain cancer diagnosis a year later after my breast cancer diagnosis. But of course, at the time of getting my brain cancer diagnosis, I knew then that it was stage 4, and there was no way to have that ignorance about what was going on with me. But it's true that 1 in 3 women will go on from having just breast cancer to having stage 4 breast cancer. And that for me was a shock, but I was already public about my breast cancer diagnosis. And at that point, because I was able to be more vulnerable and open, I felt it was also important to share that I was dealing with brain cancer and more of my life in terms of those parts of life that aren't so pretty.
Amazing. And your partner, your husband, how has
Yes.
that been?
He has silent fears and silent tears, as well as being a great support to me. There's probably more than I even recognize that he deals with as a caregiver. But I can say that from my perspective, he has been an amazing support, an amazing advocate, and he has not left my side throughout all of these changes that have happened within a short amount of years since becoming married.
You seem like you're at such peace with it all. It's how do you get to that place? And it couldn't have been that easy. And if you're able to just go there a little
Oh,
bit,
sure.
that would
I,
be appreciated.
I think one of the things that we have to recognize is, particularly for Black women, we have to keep it moving. And one of the things that I've had to do in life, whether it be academically to become a physician or whether it be in life in general, is to just keep it moving. We withstand trauma, we withstand pressures, and we have to keep life going. And so a lot of times people see my smile and they see this hair that's grown back and they think, oh, she must be perfectly fine. But there are silent tears and fears that I don't necessarily speak about all the time because I like to give people hope, and hope is still present in my life. But I definitely think that one of the things that I say is that some of the same stressors that may have gotten me into a place of poor health may be some of the same reasons why I've been able to survive. I've had stresses, and my particular breast cancer was not anything related to any genetic predisposition, and I don't have a strong family history of breast cancer. So there's really no answer as to why I've gotten triple negative breast cancer. But for me, I do feel like based upon the lifestyle that I have had and the stress that I put on myself, that stress is a component of why I have triple negative breast cancer. And
Really?
so I feel like I've been able to withstand stressors for a major part of my life, and those same abilities to withstand tough times have helped me through the tough times of having metastatic breast cancer.
What's the worst thing about being diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer for you at this point?
The worst part of the diagnosis is the fear, and it doesn't always show on my face. It's something that I carry internally. And the reason why I can't really show it on my face is because I have to live with it every day. Once you have a diagnosis of stage 4 breast cancer, there is really not anything else to consider but survival if you plan on being positive with this diagnosis. So the fear is the biggest challenge that I deal with. And I also, just based upon my personality and how I've lived life, I don't always share those negative aspects of life. As you said, I'm one who likes to smile and stay positive. So a lot of my concerns and those things that are the more negative aspects of this journey I carry internally.
Mhm.
It's not for everyone to hear, but it's for me to share with certain people, like my
You.
psychiatrist.
You. In retrospect, do you think that was a good thing to have done?
Since I'm here, I will say that it was a good thing to have been done. I think that there is a part of this breast cancer journey that requires you to be steadfast and strong. But life does need balance, and you need to have times where you can be weak and vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not so sure that I had the best balance then with the vulnerability part of things. I'm pretty
Mm-hmm.
sure I was pretty good at being strong after tackling med school and academics. But the part that I think I did not focus on as much, and I'm still working on, is the mental health part of my healing.
Absolutely.
Yes, I'm reminded daily that I have stage 4 breast cancer because I have medications that I have to take. I take medications to prevent seizures, and I also take a medication to hopefully prevent the cancer from recurring. But for me, I have great support systems, including my husband and my parents who live nearby. But I also have the added support of physicians and having a friend who happens to be an oncologist who lives near me. And she has been a wonderful support, as well as other physicians that are Black women that have just rallied around me, particularly when I was initially diagnosed and when I finally became confident enough to discuss what was going on in my life. And that's why it's so important for folks like me to speak up and be advocates,
Mm-hmm.
because it's important for me to just spread the word of my experience. Because, like you said, the guidelines don't state, hey, when you're pregnant, if your breast hurts, think about getting a mammogram. But if you hear my story, it may be helpful to someone who just thinks they have an infection related to breastfeeding. And for that reason, conversations are the first thing that we have to have within our communities. But I do think that it would be great if guidelines could get more specific as it relates to particular uh, patient considerations like mine. People that may be in the postpartum period may need to have a different guideline of screening. We know that particularly triple negative breast cancer is more aggressive and it can occur in Black women at an earlier time frame. And so, definitely, if I had a magic wand, I would say that the guidelines would be more specific for Black women. That would be my ideal goal. But in the meantime, people will just hopefully hear my story and be able to share it with others and spread the news about possible considerations for themselves.
Sure, sure. Um, so finding a support group was important, or support groups, if I'm
Yes.
hearing you. And this was online, like Facebook groups that we're talking about?
Yes, I'd love to talk about those groups too because they
Please.
are a little bit different but so supportive. So one of the groups that I joined initially was after sharing my story in one of my physician groups, and they said, "Hey, we have a group of physicians with cancer."
Mhm.
And then there's a group that we have on Facebook. So I joined a group for physicians dealing with cancers of all types. And I also was a part of a group of Black women physicians and opened up to them about one of them about one of my struggles. One of the members was in the cancer group, and I talked with her privately about having some needs early on with my diagnosis. And she told me, you don't have to be so quiet about what you're going through. There are people here that are willing to help you. And so I opened up to two Black women physician groups, one including moms that are Black women doctors. And they rallied around me in such a way that I never expected and had never received before. Like mentioned, there are very few of us Black women that are physicians. But being a part of this group, it feels like we are just a massive group of people that helps each other. And it's just amazing to know that I'm not alone in this journey and that there are organizations like Gilead Sciences, Living Beyond Breast Cancer, and then even online groups of people that just wrap their arms around me. And even my college friends rallied around me and supported me too, whether it was through financial donations and even as important prayers.
Yes.
So support groups are very important beyond just my relationships with my family members because there are people that have different ways that they can relate to me, whether it be because they are Black women physicians or because they are physicians dealing with cancer. Those types of perspectives are helpful in coping with breast cancer and being a parent and being a physician. All of those things sort of wrap together are a part of who I am. And though I may have a unique story and an individual story, I am so connected to various groups. And those people, those organizations, those women, those men, those cousins, those college friends, everyone has been integral to my survival.
hmm hmm How did this opportunity for the book come about?
With my openness about my diagnosis, I was able to become affiliated with some groups online of women dealing with breast cancer. And some of them discussed different opportunities that were available or resources that were available. And one of those included Living Beyond Breast Cancer, which is a great organization and support to women with breast cancer. And through that, I joined a young advocate group with them and just became more comfortable with sharing my story. And they were able to introduce me to Gilead Sciences and thought that it may be worthwhile to have someone like me help with a book, which I thought was so cool. Uh, Initially, I was apprehensive about sharing that I had breast cancer, but after receiving my metastatic breast cancer diagnosis, I became more open about what I was dealing with. And from that openness came a larger community of supporters. And that includes Living Beyond Breast Cancer, which is an organization for folks dealing with breast cancer. And they thought it was fit for me to be introduced to Gilead Sciences, that I may be able to be helpful to others. The Adventure Jar is a great book that is offered by Gilead Sciences in collaboration with women who have metastatic breast cancer, and also in collaboration with a psychiatrist, which I think is great. And this book is for children ages 3 through 8 to help them understand that adventures can still occur while their parent may be dealing with an illness like metastatic breast cancer. I love the fact that the book is colorful and gives reasonable options for not only parents that are dealing with cancer, but also family members affected by that person that's dealing with cancer, and how we can all support each other and support children in feeling whole and happy while life has had its changes. I did not write the book. I am just one of 8 women with metastatic breast cancer who was able to collaborate with the authors and with Gilead Sciences on our perspectives of how to make the book one that a variety of people could celebrate and understand.
Okay.
It is. I'm very proud of this book and the way it has been delivered.
And the struggle that's identified in the book is how do you have a
Right. Normal.
normal family life? How do you engage children when you're going through this process?
Yes, and that's something that can be extremely difficult, whether it be for financial reasons or for physical reasons. And that's one way that the book explores how you can manage those things, because not every adventure has to cost a lot of money, and not every adventure has to require that you expend a lot of energy. And
Mhm.
some adventures require that you use those support systems to help.
Mhm. So do your children know that you have breast cancer?
Yes, they do. They're now of an age that we have had those conversations, and those conversations vary depending on the child that I'm dealing with based upon their personalities and their ages. But they are all aware that I have it now, and we navigate life with that knowledge.
Mhm.
Initially, with my children being so young, there weren't many one-on-one conversations with them about my breast cancer diagnosis. But one of the things that is amazing and great through opening up and being more vulnerable is that you get resources like Gilead Sciences, who collaborate with women who have metastatic breast cancer and create books that can be helpful to children as well as patients that are or people that are dealing with breast cancer. And so in my case, I've actually been able to utilize the Adventure Jar book to help my kids understand what mom has been through and what mom will also go through in terms of trying to have that balance of taking care of myself, but also trying to find adventures and ways to keep their lives happy and healthy.
How old are your children now?
My kids are 10, 8, and 7. Every family is different in the way that they may use an adventure jar. But in my case, with my kids, we talk about on one day many activities that we may want to do in the future, and we put them in the jar. And of course, every day is not the same, particularly because they have school. But we do find time where if we do have moments where we can get together and do something fun, that we will choose an adventure based upon past experiences or even some of the recommendations that have come from the book. The book has
Mhm.
really opened up my eyes to a few other things I can do with my children for fun.
Mhm. And we should say that the book is free.
Yes, that is another thing that makes me so happy to say that the book is offered on expose-mbc.com, and you can actually choose from one of two options. You can download a copy for free, but you can also request that a copy of the book be sent to your home for free also. How wonderful is that, that a book is being offered to our community and those that are involved with our community for free?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Nice. That's amazing. Is there anything else that's important for you to share?
Uh, hmm. I'm grateful to be here. I am. And I'm grateful for the community that has opened their arms to me. And now that community includes you as well. And I'm just grateful for the many ways that people try their best to help folks like me. And I'm hopeful that we can continue to carry on these conversations. I'm grateful for the opportunity to still be in a helpful and healthy place to be able to have these conversations and to give maybe a different look to what metastatic breast cancer looks like from what people have observed in the past or heard in the past.
Mm,
Metastatic breast cancer can look like this.
that's a good point. I mean, this is the face or one of the possible faces of metastatic breast cancer. Wow, I have to say, your story caught me by surprise, um, because it kept getting worse and worse and worse.
Yes.
But yet you're smiling and you're positive and you seem at such peace with with everything, with everything. And
Well,
that's a great way to go through life.
one of the things that often occurs when you get a diagnosis of metastatic breast cancer, a lot of the women or patients in our community have morbid sense of humors. So sometimes in my groups that I've met, we talk about you may get hit by a bus. It may not be cancer that is your ultimate ending. So I try to just have an optimistic outlook in general for my life because I don't know what's coming next. But whatever's coming next, I hope to have some positivity with it. That does not mean that I don't have parts of my life that are sad, that I don't ponder and become depressed over. But I do also try to balance those sad parts of life and sad thoughts with a positive outlook. So whether it's a bus, a truck, or cancer, I hope to leave here with a smile. I am first off grateful for this opportunity to share.
Mm.
And I am hopeful that my openness is helpful to others. I hope that the words that I have said come across in a way that is helpful and also invigorates people to seek support, but also make sure that they ask questions of their physicians. Please don't be afraid to ask questions. Please don't be afraid to get another opinion. And if you can't advocate for yourself, find someone who can advocate for you. You can actually get a free copy of the book that can be downloaded digitally or sent to your home by going to expose-mbc.com.